Welcome everyone to the brand new Adult Swim Iceberg, and also the first video of mine for 2024. Yeah, we're about 20 something days into January, but that's alright. This video will delve into various levels of Adult Swim trivia, ranging from widely known facts to obscure, cursed, deep-fried, smelly, and downright insane topics. This project is a much more updated, refined, and enhanced version of my previous Adult Swim Iceberg video, with the addition of tons and tons of new entries that I originally did not cover in that first video. Speaking of which, shout out to every single person on screen who left me tons of entry suggestions for this video. We're gonna be here for a good while, so feel free to grab some snacks, turn up the volume, and sit back, relax, throw on a video game, clean your house, maybe help this video reach 100 likes if you're feeling generous today, and without further ado, let's get started. Bumpers. Bumpers on Adult Swim are those brief clips or transitions seen between shows and commercials. The first iteration of bumpers on the network featured seniors swimming in a public pool while a lifeguard called out, "Adult Swim, all kids out of the pool," before introducing the night's lineup. Then, sometime between 2001 and 2003, the Adult Swim bump style evolved to animated safety manuals featuring Adult Swim characters. Then, in May of 2003, the network rebranded, unveiling the current logo, which is the Adult Swim name, between two brackets. They also introduced black intertitle cards with white text, discussing various topics and lineups for the night. These bumpers were accompanied by various music tracks, one of which was a song called Mandir, which I'm super positive most of you guys have heard before. I can't play the full song, but I'll play a few seconds for you. Prepare to have your childhood memories unlocked. Over the years, these bumpers continue to evolve, from scenes of Tokyo to buildings, nature, and sometimes eerie and surreal imagery. Adult Swim has even collaborated with animators like YouTuber Syriac, who created some surreal visual bumpers. While we're on the topic of bumpers, let's talk about those very eerie, creepy bumps that used to terrify me and everybody else as a kid. Now, at 24, these don't really scare me anymore. In fact, I've grown to love them. I mean, I'm a big boy now. I put on my own pants in the morning. But back then, when I was like 6 or whatever, these bumpers used to scare me so much. Take, for example, that old commercial for The Heart She Holler. Adult Swim would sometimes splice that ad into regular commercials for The Cleveland Show or Family Guy. This demon would pop up for a split second in the middle of the commercial, and I'd instantly start pissing. Anyways, I could go on about these bumpers all day, and I might in a future video if you guys want, but we got a busy schedule ahead of us. Adult Swim saved Family Guy and Futurama. For those unaware, both Family Guy and Futurama were saved by Adult Swim. Let's start with Family Guy. Fox introduced Family Guy to the world, but sadly, in 2002, the network decided to cancel the series after 3 seasons. Once the news broke, Cartoon Network stepped in and rescued the series by airing reruns of the show on Adult Swim. This decision caused a massive surge in the Family Guy fanbase, skyrocketing its popularity and viewership. Family Guy's resurgence on Adult Swim was so remarkable that Fox reversed its decision and brought back the series. However, following the Disney-Fox merger and the expiration date of Adult Swim's syndication rights for the series back in September of 2021, Family Guy bid farewell to Adult Swim and began airing exclusively on Disney-owned properties. The very last episode of Family Guy to air on Adult Swim was Season 13, Episode 12, Stewie is on Scent. After this episode, Adult Swim showcased a brief video featuring characters from various Adult Swim shows like Aqua Teen, Space Ghost, and Bird Girl bidding farewell to the Griffin family. It was quite a bittersweet ending, to be honest. Of course, things could change in the future, but for now, Family Guy will continue to broadcast on Disney-owned channels. Futurama also faced a cancellation from Fox, but found a new life on Adult Swim. With increased numbers and ratings, Comedy Central took over and produced 4 straight-to-DVD films. The show was then revived, but was canceled yet again. However, since my last Adult Swim Iceberg, Futurama has since returned for a new season on Hulu, and it seems like everyone is really enjoying this new run. As a matter of fact, the series was just picked up for 2 more seasons, which is incredible. The 2007 Boston Moonlight Panic. In November of 2006, Boston-based artist Peter Berdovsky was hired by Interference Inc. for a guerrilla marketing campaign prompting the upcoming release of the first Aqua Teen Hunger Force film in April of the following year. The project was simple. It involved installing 40 battery-powered LED signs in specific areas of Boston, depicting the Mooninites Ignignok and Flippin' the Bird. Berdovsky agreed and brought his friend Sean Stevens on board. Throughout January of the subsequent year, they strategically positioned the signs across Boston, earning a whopping $300 each for their services. However, on January 31st, 07, a Moonanite sign was noticed on a stanchion supporting an elevated portion of Interstate 93 near Sullivan Station. Following the discovery, the Boston B Squad responded to the scene and, as a precautionary measure, used a small water-filled explosive to dismantle the first electronic sign. Subsequently, the discovery of more of these signs throughout the day led to a temporary standstill in the city of Boston as the situation unfolded. And as it turns out, the Boston police mistakenly identified these battery-powered LED signs as improvised explosive devices, or IEDs. After approximately 7 hours, authorities recognized the images on signs as Moonanites, ultimately concluding that the incident was nothing more than a publicity stunt. Following the incident, Turner Broadcasting had to compensate $1 million to both the Boston Police Department and the Department of Homeland Security. Additionally, Cartoon Network's general manager and executive vice president Jim Staples resigned from the company. Moreover, Brodowski and Stevens faced arrest by the Boston Police Department on the same evening. They were released the next morning after posting a $2,500 bail. To fulfill their legal obligations, both individuals completed 80 and 60 hours of community service respectively, and publicly issued an apology. It seems that following the incident, some fans and opportunists managed to obtain a few of these LED signs for themselves. Some have even attempted to auction them off on eBay, fetching prices ranging from $500 to $5,000. To whoever managed to acquire one of these authentic signs, you possess a very important piece of history, and I'm very jealous of you. However, and I did mention this in my updated Aqua Teen Hunger Force Iceberg video from a year ago, for those interested in owning their own LED Moonanite light-up sign reminiscent of the 2007 Boston hoax, I stumbled upon an Etsy account that crafts identical replicas of these signs. This entire incident ultimately inspired Dave Wilson Matt Malero to create the unaired Aqua Teen episode titled Boston. This episode was supposed to be the first episode of Season 5, but was pulled by Turner Legal to avoid any further controversy surrounding the incident. However, this episode eventually leaked on January 31st, 2015, exactly 8 years to the day of the Boston incident. Speaking of that episode, in May of 2023, another unfinished version of the episode with alterations aired at the Boston Comedy Festival. However, this episode did not release during the Season 12 run of Aqua Teen, and it's unknown at this time if the updated version of Boston will ever be released. Checkered Past. Checkered Past is a brand new block on Adult Swim, featuring classic Cartoon Network shows from the 90s and early 2000s. The block premiered on August 28, 2023, and runs from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. The block began with classics like Dexter's Lab, Ed, Ed and Eddie, Courage the Cowardly Dog, and The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. This block also features tons of unique and nostalgic bumpers, and since its launch, the block has featured other shows like Evil Con Carne, Cow and Chicken, and I Am Weasel, with probably more shows on the way very soon. I imagine over the course of 2024, Adult Swim is going to continue throwing more classic shows onto the block, like maybe Johnny Bravo or the Powerpuff Girls. April Fools. There's only one television network that consistently delivers the best April Fool's pranks, and that is Adult Swim. Since 2004, the network has made it a tradition to celebrate April 1st with pranks that range from silly to downright evil. So I don't want to dive into every single prank since there are almost 20 years worth of pranks from the network, so to save time, I just want to list some of the most brilliant and infamous ones. In 2004, Adult Swim pulled off its inaugural prank by adding drawn mustaches to characters in all the regular scheduled shows for that night. And then the following evening, on April 2nd, the same lineup of shows aired, but this time the mustaches were gone. In 2005, instead of the scheduled episode of Robot Chicken, Adult Swim aired an unfinished version of the pilot of Squidbillies. This surprise broadcast was followed by an announcement regarding the show's official premiere later that year. In 2007, Adult Swim played a double prank. On March 31st, every episode of Perfect Hair Forever was shown in reverse order, mimicking poorly fan-subbed anime on old VHS tapes, with degraded visual quality. One episode even had subtitles for an Aqua Teen Hunger Force episode. Adult Swim also broadcasted bumpers featuring explicit images of various female anime characters, including Faye from Cowboy Bebop and Haruko from Fooly Cooly, accompanied by the caption, "Fan Service Moment." Then, on April 1st, 2007, came the infamous Aqua Teen prank. Adult Swim announced that they would air the entire Aqua Teen Hunger Force: movie weeks before its theatrical premiere. And they did play the full movie. Well, they played the first 2 minutes in full screen, and for the remainder of the film, they shrunk the rest of it into a tiny 1-inch box on the bottom left corner of the screen. This small box ran alongside episodes of Futurama, Family Guy, and even Aqua Teen itself, with commercials and advertisements for the movie. This prank left me very disappointed as a kid. In 2009, Adult Swim aired The Room, Room, the cult classic movie directed by Tommy Wiseau. In 2012, Adult Swim executed what I consider to be one of the best pranks in the network's history. They began playing The Room before switching to Tom, the host of the Toonami animation block. He mentioned the date being April Fool's and revealed his return from the dead for one night, airing older anime associated with the Toonami block for the rest of the night. In 2021, Adult Swim introduced Adult Swim Jr., which was an alleged spoof on Cartoon Network's preschool block, Cartoonito. The shows featured on Adult Swim Jr. were dubbed with children's voices, and curse words were replaced with more kid-friendly terms. The bumpers were written in a childlike font, and even the logo was stylized to resemble a preschool channel theme. Theme songs were rewritten to mimic preschool tunes, and show titles were adjusted accordingly. For instance, Aqua Teen Hunger Force became Aqua Child Hunger Force, while Rick and Morty transformed into Rick and Morty Babies. Finally, in 2023, Adult Swim kicked off April Fool's with a prank involving an AI takeover, showing a terrifying reimagining of the Smiling Friends episode called Frowning Friends, which was recreated using generative artificial intelligence. This quickly spiraled out of control, leading to the network to cut it short and admit that the situation got a bit chaotic. Then the network lost control of the remote and started fast forwarding through previews of upcoming shows like Royal Crackers and new seasons of The Eric Andre Show and Teenage Euthanasia. Later, the program rewound to the past, where it aired the full Fire Ant episode of Coast to Coast. Following that, Adult Swim aired unedited footage of a bear and Broom Shakalaka, and to make amends for the preceding unpredictability, Adult Swim displayed footage of a train journeying through Norway. A bunch of us YouTube and content creators like Ronnie from Dancing is Forbidden, The Dan the Man Show, BH Ultra, and some other guests were in a call together watching 2023's prank, and it was honestly a lot of fun. So hey, if any of you guys that I just mentioned are watching this video, I would love to do it again with you in 2024. Honestly, if you guys are interested in learning more about these pranks, then check out my friend The Dan the Man Show, as he made a video which not only talked about the pranks in better detail, but he also ranked them as well. You might even hear a very familiar voice on that project. Toonami's revival. Toonami was an old Cartoon Network block that primarily focused on Japanese anime and occasionally American action anime. Toonami's debut, aka the Moltar era, bursted onto screens on March 17, 1997, where the villainous Space Ghost character, voiced by the late C. Martin Croker, hosted the weekday afternoon block. Then came a significant shift in 1999 when Toonami underwent a rebranding, bidding farewell to Moltar and introducing Tom, who became the face of the block. Unfortunately, despite its impact, Toonami eventually faced low ratings and was shut down in 2008. Although it was the end of the Toonami block, anime wasn't necessarily gone from the network, as more mature anime had and would continue to air on Adult Swim via their action block, which I'll touch upon later. But as I stated during the April Fool's entry, Toonami made a surprise return in 2012. Following April Fool's of 2012, Adult Swim tweeted asking if fans would like the block to return permanently, and thanks to the overwhelming amount of support, Toonami made its grand return 1 month later and has been a staple on Adult Swim every Saturday night since then. In fact, at the time of me writing this portion of the video, the Adult Swim Toonami block has now surpassed the age of the original Cartoon Network run, which is awesome. New Adult Swim movies. In May of 2021, Adult Swim announced that 3 movies based on 3 very popular shows were getting the straight-to-Blu-ray movie treatment, along with complete series box sets. Those 3 shows being Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Metalocalypse, and The Venture Bros. Over the next few years, we would see the releases of Aqua Teen Forever Plantasm, Metalocalypse Army of the Doomstar, and The Venture Bros. Radiant is the Blood of the Baboon Heart. All 3 movies are currently available now on physical media. The streaming service Max also features the new Aqua Teen and Venture Bros films. Both movies have also been shown frequently throughout the year on a network, and if I had to make an educated guess, I suspect that Army of the Doomstar will premiere on Adult Swim in February, along with it being added to Max. Infomercials. Infomercials on Adult Swim is a very unique series. They're 15-minute sketches which often air around 4 a.m. and are pretty diverse in style, ranging from infomercial skits to parodies of niche media like industrial films, reality TV, and public access television, to more bizarre and surreal content. You might be familiar with some of its iconic sketches, like Too Many Cooks, unedited footage of a bear, and This House Has People in It, which we will be discussing later. The concept for this started back in 2009 when David Cross and H. John Benjamin Swim aimed to create a series named Paid Programming for Adult Swim. The two stars eventually worked on a pilot titled Icelandic Ultra Blue. The pilot aired on November 2nd, 2009, and re-aired every Monday through Friday until December 4th of the same year. Ultimately, Paid Programming did not proceed to get picked up for a full series, although a similar series did get picked up just a few years later in 2012, with Ultra Blue serving as the pilot episode for that. However, it wasn't referred to as Paid Programming. The series was titled Infomercials. H. John Benjamin and David Cross were also not involved in the creation of this project. And as it turns out, David Cross, H. John Benjamin, and Mike Lazo, the former executive VP of Adult Swim, had an online back and forth feud about the situation. I won't go into too much detail since a lot of their responses are about the size of the Bible, but to summarize, David Cross and H. John Benjamin claimed that Mike Lazo and Adult Swim stole or ripped off the entire paid programming idea, and Mike denied it. And that was layer 1. Dear God, this is going to take a long time. Mike Lazo's departure. Mike Lazo, the former executive VP in charge of Adult Swim and Williams Street, retired on December 16, 2019. Lazo joined Turner Broadcasting System in 1984, specifically in the shipping and receiving department. Since then, he's worked his way up the ladder, and with the help of his production company Ghost Planet Industries, eventually rebranding to Williams Street, lent a hand in creating Space Ghost Coast to Coast and so many other projects. Once Lazo retired, Adult Swim aired a bumper basically thanking him for his service. Lazo might have been a controversial man at times, even receiving criticism from former staff regarding his views on women working at the network, having public disputes with people like David Cross, and even making some crazy choices like canceling popular shows like Aqua Teen that essentially built the foundation of the network. But the truth of the matter is that without his work, Adult Swim wouldn't be here. Samurai Jack revival. Over 12 years after the season 4 finale, Samurai Jack returned to television with a 5th and final season, which premiered on March 11th, 2017. However, instead of the new season airing on Cartoon Network where the series first premiered, the final season premiered on Adult Swim. Toonami began airing reruns of the series back in 2014. Eventually, Mike Lazo gave series creator Genndy Tartakovsky permission to make a final season. The new season being featured on Adult Swim allowed for Genndy and the crew behind the series to feature some darker and more mature content. Originally, the series was going to conclude with a movie. Both the live-action and animated film were in the early stages before ultimately being scrapped, which, if I'm being honest, is totally okay because I don't really personally believe that the length of a movie is enough to wrap up a story like Samurai Jack. I think Adult Swim made the right call by giving Genndy a final season. Phil LaMarr reprised his role as Jack, while Greg Baldwin took over for Aku, as the previous voice actor, Mako, sadly passed away years prior. John DiMaggio also returned as Scoutsman, Saburo Shimono returned as the Emperor, and Tom Kenny and Tara Strong joined the cast to voice Ashi and Scaramouche. And if that wasn't enough, Adult Swim also published the Samurai Jack video game Battle Through Time back in 2020, and according to Genndy, that game is also canon to the series. Too Many Cooks? Too Many Cooks is a short which is part of the infomercial series. Created by the legend himself, Casper Kelly, this over-the-top special premiered on October 28, 2014 at 4 a.m. The short begins as a parody of intros to old sitcoms from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, introducing over dozens and dozens of cast members before divulging into other genres like dramas, horror, science fiction, etc. Throughout the short, there is a slasher villain who is played by William Tokarski, who first appears in the background of several scenes before emerging to the forefront and basically murdering every single cast member. Eventually, the intro portion of the short ends and the Too Many Cooks episode, in quotes, begins, before ending roughly 5 to 10 seconds later. Too Many Cooks is one of those programs that a person really needs to see to believe, although I'm like 99% positive that most of you watching this iceberg have seen this special before, because it essentially went viral on YouTube years ago. The video became so popular that viewers began to speculate as to what the true underlying meaning of Too Many Cooks could be, whether it was just a random art project of Casper Kelly's, a special designed to mess with children or stoners who stayed up late, if it was meant to tell a story about how network executives tend to ruin popular shows by adding in a ridiculous amount of new characters, phasing out the old ones, changing the style of the series, and driving creators away unless they conform. But at least from my perspective, I believe that Too Many Cooks is just for entertainment. But I love the idea of how this short is left up to the viewer to interpret it however they please. So hey, let me know in the comments below how you guys interpret Too Many Cooks. What does this special mean to you? Learning with Pibby. Learning with Pibby is a concept ahead of its time. The idea originated as a short film that premiered on October 30th, 2021 on Adult Swim's YouTube channel. The plot revolves around Pibby, the main character of a fake children's educational program, who becomes entangled in the Warner Bros. Multiverse when their friend Bun Bun is affected by a glitchy virus that engulfs everything it encounters. The short gained widespread attention and went viral, prompting many viewers to advocate for Adult Swim to explore the possibility of developing it into a full series. Then, on April 1st, 2022, for Adult Swim's yearly April Fool's prank, Pibby and Bun Bun made a return, navigating Adult Swim's block and bumpers for the evening, which is still visible on Adult Swim's channel if you ever want to check it out. People were excited, anticipating a potential series announcement. However, on October 3rd, 2023, the series creator, Dodge Greenlee, disclosed on Instagram that Pibby was unlikely to be greenlit. What a missed opportunity if you ask me. I mean, a series starring an innocent children's cartoon character having to traverse through a violent multiverse, being forced to mature and grow up in order to stop a virus and save their best friend would have been an incredible story. I don't personally know if Pibby will ever happen, but hopefully Adult Swim or Warner Bros. Discovery greenlights this idea for a full series in the future. Aqua Teen Season 12. Aqua Teen Hunger Force Season 12 is the most recent season of the series and the first since the show's cancellation way back in 2015. The season consisted of 5 episodes: Shaketopia, A Quiet Shake, script title, The Teaser 2s, Get Lit Upon a Sit Upon, and Anubis. The season featured tons of new characters, a whole new animation style, an updated version of the original Aqua Teen intro, with a remix of the classic Schooly D track, tons of guest stars, and even a guest appearance by Dancing is Forbidden host Ronnie, who I've had on for the recent updated Aqua Teen Iceberg. The new season is available for viewing on Max if any of you guys are interested in checking it out. Unedited footage of a bear. Unedited footage of a bear is another really popular short from the infomercials series. Directed by Ben O'Brien and Alan Resnick, the genius behind Alan Tutorials, this film begins as just a cell phone clip of a wild bear, before transitioning into a commercial about a fake allergy pill known as Claridril. Over time, the commercial descends into a pretty dark story about addiction and mental illness. The short goes further than that, but I don't want to spoil too much more, so definitely check out this short if you haven't already. Although, just like with Too Many Cooks, I'm positive all of you guys have seen it before. I'd also highly advise you all to check out YouTuber Nightmind's video on unedited footage of a bear, as they dive way deeper into the meaning behind the special, and even explore the website that once coincided with it. Justin Roiland fired. Justin Roiland, co-creator of Rick and Morty, was caught up in a situation back in 2020 which involved domestic battery and false imprisonment, which led to his arrest. He was released on bail after pleading not guilty, though a pre-trial hearing was slated for April of 2023. The story eventually broke out earlier last year, which led to several allegations and accusations being made against the creator. The situation reached a point where Adult Swim even stepped in and dismissed Roiland from Rick and Morty, and that the roles for the main characters would be recast. Following Adult Swim's decision, 20th Television Animation confirmed that Roiland was removed from his other projects, Solar Opposites and Koala Man, which continued forward as well. Eventually, the criminal charges were dropped due to insufficient evidence, and Roiland made a public statement stating that he is moving forward with his creative projects and focusing on restoring his name. Williams Street Records. Williams Street Records LLC is the record label responsible for a lot of Adult Swim music. You might be familiar with their work like Death Albums 1 through 3, Awesome Record, Great Songs, Volume 1 from Tim and Eric, and The Venture Bros, the music of J.G. Thirlwell. The label has also released compilation albums like the Kool movie film soundtrack, Have Yourself a Meaty Little Christmas, and more. The record label also gave a platform to various underground artists via the Adult Swim singles program. And back in 2015, founder Jason DeMarco announced that the label would release free music from now on. Adult Swim Festival. If there's one network that loves to party and interact with its fanbase, it's Adult Swim. Adult Swim Festival is a yearly event that features live performances, meet and greets, exclusive merchandise, panels from creators of shows, games, food, watch parties, premieres, giveaways, and tons of other activities. For example, a couple of years ago, the network hosted a block party in Philadelphia from August 5th to the 7th, and the event featured performances from Run the Jewels and Death Clock, as well as panels from the Aqua Teen crew, and featured loads of activities for attendees to participate in. They also hosted an event in San Diego earlier that same summer with performances by Flying Lotus, as well as a screening of Checkered Past. Adult Swim TikTok trend. In 2021, TikTok users began filming homemade Adult Swim-inspired bumpers while incorporating the network's logo into the video, set to an audio clip titled Running Away. The sound was created by Vano3000, along with Bad Bad No Good, and Samuel T. Herring. The trend's origins traces back to Vano3000, who initially recorded himself eating a sandwich with the audio in the background. He then followed it up with another video of him following a man dressed as Spider-Man claiming that his beat fits everything, and the video ended with the Adult Swim logo. This sparked a viral wave as other TikTok users mirrored his approach, and soon, the trend gained momentum. Forbes reported over 1.1 billion users of the hashtag Adult Swim and 82.7 million uses of Adult Swim Bump on TikTok at that time. The trend was so popular that even Adult Swim itself joined in, contributing to the trend. This was honestly probably the greatest thing to ever emerge from TikTok. In fact, it might even be the only great thing from TikTok. This house has people in it. This House Has People in It is another very popular short from the infomercial series. Created by Alan Resnick and released in 2016, the short displays security footage of a family gearing up for a birthday party before strange events begin to occur. This video could easily be interpreted as just an entertaining video meant to mess with people at 4 a.m., or perhaps it holds a much deeper meaning, like a birthday party gone awry. A family literally sinking into the floor and embodying the living essence of This House Has People in It. However, This House Has People in It seems to be more of an ARG. YouTuber Nightmind, who I mentioned previously, also conducted a deep dive into This House Has People in It, decoding clues, exploring a website featuring a terminal with over 2 hours of bonus footage, and more. I'd highly recommend giving Nightmind's video a watch when you get the chance. It's really well put together. And that was Layer 2. Oh god, here we go. The Dawn is Your Enemy. The Dawn is Your Enemy bump on Adult Swim was a very iconic and spine-chilling sign-off shown between 2005 and 2010. This eerie bumper was strategically aired to discourage children from watching the channel, as it appeared in the very early hours of the morning. It featured a pencil-like sketch-style illustration depicting human-like eyes peering over a field filled with flowers and trees. In the distance, a sun with a face could be seen. For a brief but unsettling 10 seconds every morning, for 5 years, this haunting image would appear on screen accompanied by an equally creepy audio track, and the bumper's aim was pretty clear: to give viewers an unsettling experience and deter young audiences from tuning into the channel. Despite its intent to scare, or perhaps because of it, the Dawn is Your Enemy bumper became a standout and memorable part of Adult Swim's legacy. In fact, the bumper was so popular that people began creating stories, fan edits, and creepypastas to justify its creepy nature. Like a story about how the sun in the image literally blinked at viewers, even though it never did in the original. There's also a pretty popular story on the fandom creepypasta wiki which tells a tale about how millions of viewers were exposed to a 2-minute version of The Dawn is Your Enemy, where the audio was filled with screams of agony and terror. I highly recommend giving it a read whenever you get the chance. Anyways, around May of 2020, a surprising revival of the bumper occurred a decade after its initial run. This time, it took the form of a text bumper titled The Dawn is Your Frenemy. The bumper started with a message about the network wanting to be more positive, followed by the bump with the text altered to now read The Dawn is Your Frenemy. And what separates this bumper from the original is that a red balloon ascends on screen, accompanied by uplifting piano music, and adding to the surrealism, the sun even winked at the viewer. The bumper concluded with on-screen text stating, "Not sure if it's working." It's amazing how self-aware Adult Swim is, and how they pay attention to fan theories and ideas. The bumper also allegedly reappeared for a short time in September of 2021 for Adult Swim's 20th anniversary. In terms of the audio from The Dawn is Your Enemy, as it turns out, it's not a bunch of creepy random sounds thrown together. The audio was taken from the first 10 seconds of a hip-hop song titled Violence is a Menace. If you would like to listen to the full song, it's available on Bump Archive's YouTube channel, with all information in the description. There is an instrumental and a version with vocals as well. MF Doom. To say that MF Doom was a legend would be an understatement. He was truly in a league of his own, crafting brilliant songs that would influence so many people. Doom was a renowned rap artist and producer who sadly passed away in October of 2020. Besides his incredible solo work and collaborative projects with other artists, Doom was a staple in Adult Swim's culture. The artist had voiced some characters in various Adult Swim projects like Big Chocolate Bunny in the Cheyenne Cinnamon pilot, as well as Sherman in Perfect Hair Forever. Doom also invaded Adult Swim on Christmas Eve of 2006 with various bumpers. In 2005, Doom and Danger Mouse released The Mouse and the Mask record, which featured audio from various Adult Swim shows like Aqua Teen and Space Ghost. Doom was also working on a compilation album titled The Missing Notebook Rhymes, which was to be released on Adult Swim's website, one song per week for 15 weeks. However, on September 27, 2017, the network decided to cancel the project just 7 songs deep. After Doom's passing, Jason DeMarco revealed that the reason why the project was canceled was because Doom allegedly didn't pay the producers, didn't clear the samples, and that the music was owed to a record label. Shortly after Doom's death, his SoundCloud page uploaded 8 new tracks, which many have theorized to be the 8 missing tracks for the record. What's even more obscure is that Doom and MC Chris also pitched an animated series to the network about 2 jacked and stacked priests who worked at a mall in New Jersey and dreamed of getting laid and getting paid, but only succeeded in looking like the cast of the Jersey Shore. Footage, images, and even the theme song for this project can be found online, and according to a Reddit AMA with MC Chris, several episodes were worked on, but the series was scrapped. MF Doom was an incredible artist, a talented voice actor, a brilliant mastermind, and a true villain. May his music and influence live on forever. Flying Lotus. Flying Lotus is another incredible and talented artist as well as a filmmaker and DJ who also happens to have ties to Adult Swim. There's a good chance that you've already heard some of his music, as some of his songs were featured on many bumpers, like the very popular Baggage Room bumper, which features his track Massage Situation. In 2012, the rapper also began creating music under the name Captain Murphy, which is a direct reference to the character from C-Lab 2021. The artist has also appeared on both The Eric Andre Show and YOLO Crystal Fantasy. Another fun fact about Flying Lotus is that he hosted his own radio show in Grand Theft Auto 5. The station is titled Fly Low FM. What does this have to do with Adult Swim? Well, Carl from Aqua Teen, voiced by Dave Willis, can be heard calling the radio station in the game.
Let's go to the phones real quick.
Yeah, I'm calling in to request any music that ain't this.
While he's not referred to as Carl, probably due to legal logistics, Dave can still be heard speaking in Carl's iconic voice. And to circle back a little bit, Flying Lotus also worked on the intro song for Aqua TV Show. And completely unrelated to Adult Swim, but Flying Lotus also directed and wrote the Ozzy's Dungeon segment in the horror anthology movie VHS 99, which was the most recent VHS movie to come out. And it's one of my personal favorite segments in all of the VHS franchise, purely because of how over the top and outrageous it is. Another obscure fact, also not related, is that Stephen Ogg, who plays Trevor in Grand Theft Auto 5, also played the host in that segment. Man, what a small world. Venture Bros cancellation. Following the conclusion of the 7th season in 2018, there was exciting news that Doc and Jackson were working on the 8th season. However, in September of 2020, one of the show's illustrators, Ken Plume, tweeted that the series had been canceled by Adult Swim, and a few days later, Jackson Public confirmed the unfortunate news. Following the announcement of the show's cancellation, a vast community of Venture Bros fans online came together and rallied behind the hashtag Save the Venture Bros campaign. This movement served as a way to demonstrate to Adult Swim the unwavering strength of the fan base. Fans were committed to show their support for the series in hopes that the network would decide to revive the series. Thankfully, Adult Swim caved in by greenlighting the Venture Bros' Radiant is the Blood of the Baboon Heart, which is a direct-to-video movie which serves as the series finale, although it doesn't really feel like a conclusion to the series. In fact, it feels as if Doc and Jackson left the movie pretty open-ended in the rare event that they're given another season in the future, which I hope they eventually get. I mean, hell, if Aqua Teen can do it, then so can the Venture Bros. Adult Swim games. Adult Swim Games stands as the game publishing arm of the network. In fact, you might already be familiar with some of their games like Samurai Jack Battle Through Time, Rick and Morty Virtual Reality, and others. Additionally, the network posted tons of Flash games onto the Adult Swim website, although they were eventually removed due to the demise of Flash Player in 2020. Rest in peace. Notable titles from this era include the Robot Unicorn Attack franchise, the Amateur Surgeon series. There's also this one game that I remember playing as a kid called Orphan Feast, but I don't know if anybody remembers that. I'll have to find some footage and throw it up on screen. There was also a franchise known as Candy Mountain Massacre, which was a personal favorite of mine that nearly spelled a doom for my mom's old laptop. I don't remember when that game came out. It might have been like 2007, 8, 9, around that time. And my mom had this old crappy Dell laptop that was about as thick as a brick. And every time I would try to run the game, it would work for a little bit and then the computer would just light on fire. Not literally, but the laptop would overheat and it would just stop working. There were tons of other games as well. There are programs available online designed to support some of these old Flash games if anyone is interested. Although there were a lot of Flash games available on Adult Swim, so I wouldn't expect every game from Adult Swim's history to be available. New Year's celebrations. A long time ago, Adult Swim had a brief tradition of welcoming the new year with crossover bumpers that brought together characters from different shows. I recently created a video discussing most of the New Year's celebrations that occurred on Adult Swim during New Year's Eve and day. However, after rewatching that video, I may have overlooked a few details, such as the surprise premiere of Off the Air. So just a heads up, if you decide to ever check out that video and notice that I didn't mention something in particular, it's because I'm an idiot and I forgot to write it in the script. Which happens. Nobody's perfect. Anyways, the New Year's celebrations kicked off in 2002, when Brack and Carl took charge of Times Square, reflecting on the year and ushering in 2003. Subsequently, in 2004, Brack and his family hosted a party featuring characters from Aqua Teen, Harvey Birdman, Space Ghost, and more. Another crossover event occurred in 2005, but it was exclusive to a New Year's Eve event in Georgia hosted by the band Widespread Panic. Apart from those instances, the remaining New Year's celebrations either included show marathons, premieres like Off the Air, or sometimes nothing at all. Smalls. Smalls is an Adult Swim series initiated by Dave Hughes, the creator of Off the Air. This series showcases various animated shorts crafted by a diverse range of artists and talents. In an interview with Animation World Network, Hughes explained that the primary aim of Smalls is to uncover new talent and innovative ideas, with the hope that some of these shorts might evolve into pilots or even full-fledged shows. Another great aspect of Smalls is its minimal studio interference, allowing creators to largely focus on their creative vision without significant external influence. Basically, creators aren't going to have an executive breathing down their neck 90% of the time. According to Dave, artists can submit pitches to platforms like the Smalls Instagram account. If any of you guys want to check out Smalls, if you haven't already, they are available on Adult Swim's YouTube channel. Aqua Teen creators lied to get the show on air. During the early development of Aqua Teen, Dave Willis and Matt Malero were concerned about pitching the series to Cartoon Network executives because they feared they wouldn't really understand their vision, which is essentially why in the first few episodes of the series, Shake, Frylock, and Meatwad are portrayed as detectives. This angle led for a better pitch instead of just stating to network executives that the series would be all about sentient fast food items just doing random things. By the fourth episode of the series, which was Mayhem of the Moonanites, Willis and Malero felt confident enough to completely abandon the whole detective disguise entirely, although throughout the series there are some nods and even mentions of the detective days. Yule Log. Adult Swim Yule Log, or The Fireplace, created by Casper Kelly, is a black comedy horror movie which aired on the network back on December 11th, 2022, after the season 6 finale of Rick and Morty. The film was marketed as Adult Swim's first annual Yule Log, and began as just an innocent log burning in a fireplace, before turning into a complete thriller full of idiots, flashbacks, an alien, a murderous flaming log, a failing relationship, a tiny man, and a cult, and some other stuff. It's such an insane movie, but it's so good. In fact, I created a video just talking about the plot, some incredible hidden details, and the overall meaning behind the film if you're interested in learning more. I would also highly advise all of you who aren't super squeamish to give it a try. The film can be pretty dark and gory at times, but it's honestly a very entertaining movie. Stupid Monkey Vanity Card. At the conclusion of each Robot Chicken episode, a vanity card would appear on screen, referencing the animation studio founded by Seth Green and Matthew Senreich, known as Stupid Monkey. Back in the day, particularly during the early seasons of Robot Chicken, the Stupid Monkey vanity card used to showcase rather intense scenes involving a monkey on the brink of engaging in risky or hazardous activities. I'll throw a few of these up on screen, but there are some that I can't show in this video because they're completely insane. After the partnership with, oh my god, Buddy System, Jesus Christ, you guys can't see it, but I wrote Bussy Systems in here by accident. After Stupid Monkey and Buddy System Studios partnered in 2012 to create Stupid Buddy Studios, the Stupid Monkey vanity cards began to dial back the insanity. While I don't have every logo card design memorized, the newer ones from my perspective appear less violent. I could be wrong though, there might still be some insane cards thrown into the newer episodes that I completely overlooked, but anyways, shout out to Logo Stuff for recommending this entry to me. Adult Swim Shop. The Adult Swim Shop served as the central hub for a wide range of Adult Swim products, encompassing DVDs, t-shirts, accessories, hats, music, and various other wild items. The online store lasted for a few years until its doors closed in 2012. According to a comment by a Reddit user named sheep_rake, who claims to be an ex-employee of the network, on the Williams Street Reddit thread inquiring about the shop's closure, it was asserted that the store ceased operations due to a lack of profitability. Then Adult Swim began another store named As Seen on Adult Swim in 2013, concentrating on selling a single item at a time. Then the network introduced a QVC parody show with the same name for live streams, but tragically the site met its demise in 2021. And that was Layer 3. Woohoo. I am thirsty. Seth Rogen's phone number. In the Season 3 premiere of The Eric Andre Show, Seth Rogen fell victim to a very unfortunate prank. Eric Andre displayed Rogen's real phone number on screen, leading to a flood of phone calls and text messages from fans. This incident drove Rogen insane to the point that he had to change his phone number and even pleaded with the host to tell people to stop phoning him. Interestingly, years later, Eric Andre appeared on the Conan O'Brien show on TBS, and both hosts once again broadcasted Seth Rogen's phone number. However, this time around, Seth was in on the prank. When Conan called Seth back, he managed to trick him into revealing his brand new phone number. However, the number Seth revealed was also fake. What a terrible situation for Seth, but thankfully him and Eric Andre had a great laugh about it. Failed pilots. Adult Swim has been pitched loads and loads of pilots throughout its history that were just unable to become full shows, and I want to take this entry to inform you all of a couple of my personal favorites that I'd highly recommend checking out. First up is Cheyenne Cinnamon and the Fantabulous Unicorn of Sugartown Candy Fudge, which is such a fun title to say. The pilot was created by Dave Willis, Matt Harrigan, starred Nico Case, Kristen Shaw, MC Chris, MF Doom, T-Pain, and the pilot revolved around a pop star that lives in a candy world who tries to help a pregnant teenager and her personal issues. The pilot premiered on March 29th, 2010, and was not picked up for a series. However, it's available to view online. Next is Space Kataz, which was a proposed spin-off of Aqua Teen, starred the Moonanites and the Plutonians, and the plot revolved around both species of aliens pranking each other. Clips of the pilot were used for the cold openings of Aqua Teen Season 3, and a full pilot is available on the Volume 4 DVD, and online as well. Those are just two of my personal favorites, but as I said, there are loads of others. If any of you guys are just interested in learning more about the background of those two specific pilots, or some other ones, or even other opportunities that Adult Swim missed out on, consider checking out this video by BH Ultra, and tell him that I sent you as well. He's a great guy, he makes great content. Team Fortress 2 crossover. Team Fortress 2 is a first-person shooter from Valve that was released way back in 2007 and is regarded as one of the most popular video games in history. And as it turns out, there were a few points in time where Valve and Adult Swim have collaborated. In 2013, the network released some commercials featuring Team Fortress 2 characters to promote not just a new season of The Venture Bros at the time, but also to announce that Adult Swim partnered with Valve to incorporate Adult Swim in-game items that players could equip, like Carl's flip-flops, a robot chicken head, Brock's locks, and more. Then, between 2012 and 2013, Valve were reportedly working on a Team Fortress series for Adult Swim as well. According to a video from Tyler McVicker, employees began writing writing a screenplay for the pilot, which would eventually become the animation expiration date. However, Valve failed to follow the network's guidelines and deadlines, apparently operating on Valve time, and creating a 20-minute pilot instead of an 11-minute pilot. By 2014, the network expected 12 episodes to be finished, but Valve either had finished scripts or scripts still being worked on while the pilot was still in progress. Because of this, Adult Swim canceled their deal. Eventually, the 15-minute expiration date video was released in the summer of 2014 alongside a Team Fortress 2 update. None of the 12 completed or uncompleted scripts were released. Although this deal didn't quite pan out, Team Fortress 2 did make an appearance on the network just a couple of years later. In the Venture Bros Season 6 episode titled It Happened One Night, there's a scene where Brock advises Rusty to seek refuge in the panic room. However, Rusty refuses, claiming that his work is in a delicate state. The scene then transitions to Rusty and Sergeant Hatred playing a game of Team Fortress 2. There was also a really funny Team Fortress 2 sketch featured in Robot Chicken, which puts the nerd into a lobby, and it's just hilarious. Radio station in Saints Row 3. In the video game Saints Row 3, there is a radio station titled Adult Swim WDDT CPDG. The station is hosted by none other than John, the star of the hit series Delocated, and features tons of tracks from Adult Swim shows, like the School ED Aqua Teen Hunger Force remix, Death Clock's The Cyborg Slayers, Basket Case from Danger Doom, and Tim and Eric's Sports. Meatwad Hot Air Balloon and Metalocalypse Fountain. Back in 2010, the Adult Swim shop introduced two made-to-order items, a Meatwad Hot Air Balloon and a Metalocalypse Fountain. The Hot Air Balloon was priced at $70,000 while the fountain carried a price tag of $40,000. Unsurprisingly, neither of these products found any buyers, because who in God's name wants to spend $70,000 on a hot air balloon? And, well, okay, I would buy the fountain. I totally would if I had the assets. Given their made-to-order nature and zero reposted sales, real pictures of these items are non-existent. The Meatwad Balloon's description reads the following. Let's assume that you are an Aqua Teen Hunger Force fanatic, granted, who has amassed a ridiculous fortune, because why not, and wants to dump a huge chunk of change financing a series of fantastic voyages, obviously. How exactly does one begin such an undertaking? What's the crucial first step? Allow us to make a suggestion. Use a meager portion of your vast disposable wealth to purchase a big, honkin' Meatwad hot air balloon of your very own. As for the Metalocalypse fountain description, it reads the following. Are you the world's biggest Metalocalypse fan? No, really. Their biggest fan? Well, time to put your money where your mouth is by blowing all of that filthy, dirty cash you have lying around on this incredibly decadent purchase. A perfect replica of the fountain that decorates the nightmarish foyer of Deathclock's luxurious and deadly estate. Nothing will boast your dedication to animated death metal more than this disgustingly lavish and entirely unnecessary conversation piece squatting in your front yard. It will also do your neighbors the courtesy of informing them that yes, you are 100% balls out crazy. Both shipping and, of course, blood are not included. And just a quick side note, the original Metalocalypse fountain bumper mentioned the price being $25,000, but the website mentioned it being $40K, so do what you will with that. You know, as I stated before, if I had like $40,000 just sitting around, I would totally buy the fountain for my front yard. Don't get me wrong, the hot air balloon is cool, but I live in the land of trees, so parking that hot air balloon, it would just be a pain in the ass. Dexter's Rude Removal. Dexter's Rude Removal is an episode of Dexter's Laboratory that was scheduled to air as part of the show's second season. The plot revolved around Dexter and Dee Dee splitting into two versions of themselves, nice and rude, via the Rude Removal system. The rude variations of Dexter and Dee Dee would go on to create chaos and use excessive profanity, although the swears were censored. Because of this, Cartoon Network decided to ban the episode from airing. The episode, despite not airing on the network, aired at some conventions like at the 1998 World Animation Celebration. Eventually, Adult Swim asked fans if they were still interested in seeing the episode, and not surprisingly, the response was insane. So Adult Swim in January of 2013 released the episode onto their YouTube channel and website. Soon after, the video was made private. However, there are ways to find the episode online, as Adult Swim was kind enough to leave the video up long enough for people to download it. You could most likely either find a re-upload on YouTube or maybe archive.org. However, there is a rumored to be uncensored version version of this episode. According to Powerpuff Girls creator Craig McCracken, uncensored audio was originally recorded for the segment, but he wasn't sure if the network still had the audio. Sadly, it doesn't seem like we will be getting the uncensored version anytime soon, if not ever. I also just want to mention that there is a version of this episode being passed around online known as Dexter's Rude Removal Uncut. However, that version is not the official uncensored version. It's a fan-made edit by an old YouTube channel that spliced together audio from Dexter and Dee Dee to create curse words. It may not be the official uncensored version, but it's realistically the closest we have, and the closest we'll probably ever get to having the real version. The Problem Solvers was pitched to Adult Swim. The Problem Solvers is a series which revolves around the characters Alfei, Roba, and Horace, who act as detectives and attempt to solve problems in their town of Farborough. The show, however, is mostly known and remembered by people for having its super saturated color palette and having an extremely wild art style. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's honestly very exhausting to look at after a few minutes. Series creator Ben Jones originally pitched a pilot titled Neon Gnome to Adult Swim, but the network executives referred Jones to Cartoon Network. The series was eventually picked up and retooled. Only a single season aired on Cartoon Network before Netflix took the series, aired a season 2, and then buried it deep underground where nobody could ever find it. Metalocalypse's cancellation and Change.org petition. Metalocalypse creator Brendan Small had intentions to conclude the series with a final season, but unfortunately, due to budget negotiations with Adult Swim not reaching an agreement, Brendan turned to the fans, starting a petition named Metalocalypse Now, which encouraged fans to send guitar pics to Hulu, urging them to make a deal with Adult Swim for the final season. Supporters even organized a rally in front of Hulu's headquarters in Santa Monica, California. Even real-life musicians like Devin Townsend and Scott Ian from Anthrax showed their support for the cause. Adult Swim eventually acknowledged the outcry and commotion from fans, and they responded in one of the coldest ways possible. The network allowed fans to fill out forms, submitting them to their offices. If they garnered at least 25 signatures, Adult Swim would sign the Change.org petition to bring back the series. The catch, however, was that the form had to be a minimum of 125 words explaining why Metalocalypse should return and had to be faxed to the network's offices. There was also a note stating that Adult Swim's endorsement of the petition would not in any way bring back the show. Adding insult to injury, Adult Swim even live-streamed their fax machine receiving the petitions and tossing them into a garbage bin. In response, fans ended up faxing other things, including pictures of Nicolas Cage and some not safe for work memes. This clip, uploaded to YouTube by Swim History, demonstrates that Adult Swim stuck to their word and signed the petition. But God, that is cold. Thankfully, however, in 2021, Adult Swim finally caved in by bringing back not just Metalocalypse, but also Aqua Teen and the Venture Bros for 3 direct-to-video movies. Brendan Small, after years of fighting, finally received the chance to conclude his story. Metalocalypse Army of the Doomstar eventually released on August 22nd, 2023, concluding the story in a pretty satisfying way. Not only did Metalocalypse fans receive their finale, but they also received a new Death Clock album and the film's score. Adult Swim message boards. Adult Swim used to host message boards on their website, providing a platform for people to engage in discussions about various topics related to the network. Sometimes the network would even feature comments or questions from board users via bumpers, and would even sometimes poke fun at them. The message boards were pretty popular, especially in the early 2000s, but eventually the network killed them off, erasing tons of history. However, Adult Swim hosted a poll on Twitter asking fans whether they should bring back the message boards again or not. Over 5,000 people voted, with a majority wanting them back. However, the message boards still haven't returned, and to be honest, I highly doubt they ever will. Adult Swim podcasts. Adult Swim hosted a video podcast that lasted from March 21st, 2006 to September 19th of the same year. The podcast featured behind-the-scenes footage from creators of shows like Robot Chicken and Tim and Eric, an interview with Dennis Hoskins from Saved by the Bell, and other extra content. Over a decade after the first podcast concluded, Matt Harrigan hosted an audio podcast titled The Adult Swim Podcast, which launched on July 11th, 2019. Episodes usually consisted of Matt interviewing various Adult Swim staff and creators. However, the Adult Swim Podcast hasn't released any new episodes since November of 2020. Joe Pera Grocery Store Food List 1945.com. In the Joe Pera Talks With You episode, Joe Pera Takes You to the Grocery Store, Joe begins to list what's on his grocery list before stopping himself. He then tells viewers who want to see the full grocery list to visit a website titled Joe Pera Grocery Store Food List 1945.com, and as it turns out, the site is real. The website features Joe's real grocery list and also allows visitors to submit some recommended items that Joe should try, as well as a link to the Joe Pera Adult Swim page. And by God, that was layer 4. Woo! I'm hungry. Lost April Fool's footage. Despite several clips and archives being preserved from various Adult Swim April Fool's pranks, a significant amount of footage from those nights is classified as lost media. In my initial iceberg, I detailed most of the lost and found media, but it's possible that my list may have been updated since then. So to save time, since that entry in my old iceberg was also ridiculously long, I'll just highlight some of the most notable examples of lost media from these pranks, with the hope that they can be rediscovered in the future. So while the 2004 Futurama mustache episode is available online, the Family Guy, Cowboy Bebop, and Inuyasha mustache episodes are lost media. There are rumors that the Witch Hunter Ramen mustache episode exists on a site called myspleen.com, however, it's virtually impossible to access that site. A YouTube user by the name of InClouds has a video titled Adult Swim Commercial Break in between Witch Hunter Ramen, April 1st, 2004, which displays a quick clip of the Witch Hunter Ramen episode, which leaves me to believe that people do have a copy of this episode. And by all means, if you do have a copy of this, feel free to send me a link because I just really want to see this for myself. In terms of the entire 2007 Aqua Teen: movie film premiere, apparently the full block exists online. I haven't personally come across it, but people have claimed that it exists somewheres. I do know, however, that the first 5 minutes of the block is available on YouTube and archive.org though. Finally, the 2013 episodes of shows featuring cat heads have not been found to my knowledge, although there are screenshots available online as well as the bumpers featured that night on bumpworthy.com. Again, these are just a few notable examples of lost April Fool's media. I know I didn't mention every single piece of lost footage, but if you have any information regarding either the entries I mentioned or the ones I didn't, drop them in the comments below. Thankfully, in recent years, more people and even Adult Swim themselves have begun to save and archive the annual pranks. And I would imagine going forward that Adult Swim will continue to stream and save their April Fool's pranks on their YouTube channel. Adventure Time aired for 1 month. So for some reason, Adult Swim decided to air Adventure Time for a brief period of 1 month in February of 2019. However, it was soon discontinued without any explanation. My assumption is that maybe people weren't really happy with a Cartoon Network series meant for younger audiences airing on the network. However, Adventure Time is one of those shows that began as a kids cartoon but slowly evolved and aged alongside its audience over time. So maybe in the future the series will return for a run on Checkered Past, pending if the block decides to air 2010s cartoons alongside the early 2000s cartoons. I also wouldn't be opposed to Adult Swim airing Fiona and Cake either, especially since it's geared towards an older audience, although I'm not entirely sure how possible it is. The background of Squidbillies. So the development of Squidbillies is a pretty interesting story. It all began in 2003, when Mike Lazo randomly began saying the word Squidbillies around the office. According to Jim Fortier in an interview with GPB, the rumor behind the word Squidbillies was that Mike, along with some colleagues at lunch, would talk about classic Hanna-Barbera shows. Somehow they came up with the term Squidbillies from a combination between Squiddly Diddly and Huckleberry Hound. Eventually, development for a series titled Squidbillies was in the works, and for a good while, Dave Willis, Jim, and Mike, along with Matt Malero, Pete Smith, and Matt Harrigan, wrote some scripts and ideas for the series, but nothing really materialized. After a long road of rewrites, brainstorming sessions, and even Jim preparing to find a new job, he and Dave Willis developed the idea of the series being based on their own upbringing in Georgia. Originally slated for a November 7th, 2004 premiere, the Squidbillies pilot ultimately did not air. Instead, Adult Swim showed the Perfect Hair Forever pilot, followed by the Anime Talk Show, or the Adult Swim Brain Trust, featuring Space Ghost, Meatwad, Early, and Sharko. This came after the network's constant bombardment of bumpers and advertisements regarding the series premiere. Many viewers began to believe that Squidbillies was just a prank, a conspiracy, or a series with zero intentions on being released. Eventually, an unfinished version of the pilot episode finally aired on April 1st of 2005, with the first season debuting later that year on October 16th. Despite its rocky start due to creative challenges, Squidbillies ultimately became one of Adult Swim's longest-running shows, spanning over 100 episodes and lasting roughly 15 years. Rare Adult Swim DVDs. Popular Adult Swim series like Rick and Morty, Aqua Teen, and The Venture Bros are readily available on physical media. However, there are certain shows that either never made it to physical release or had such limited copies that new fans find themselves scouring the deepest, darkest, smelliest, and most obscure corners of the internet in search of those rare DVDs. Reddit user AnswerMeZine shared a photo featuring 4 elusive Adult Swim DVDs in their collection. These include the Space Ghost 1998 episodes DVD, the From the Kentucky Nightmare DVD, the 12-Ounce Mouse The Movie Complete Series DVD, and the Lucy the Daughter of the Devil Season 1 DVD. These DVDs are known for being particularly hard to come by, and if someone does happen to stumble upon them, they often come with a very hefty price tag. Other rare releases include Xavier Renegade Angel Seasons 1 and 2, and Moral Oral Volume 2, which had an exclusive release in Australia, which is unfair. While we're on the topic of rare physical media, Adult Swim has also released a lot of pretty obscure DVDs like Adult Swim in a Box, which is a DVD set containing various Adult Swim shows like Aqua Teen and Moral Oral, along with pilots like Totally for Teens and Cheyenne Cinnamon. There's also the Adult Swim Grab Bag DVD, which contains Season 1 of Titan Maximum, the full Assy McGee series, along with Minora Team and Xavier Renegade Angel Seasons 1 and 2. If you're ever bored and want to just search for more obscure Adult Swim DVDs and rare physical media, definitely check out eBay. Hanna-Barbera assets and other shows. In 1991, Turner Broadcasting acquired the production company, leading to the airing of these beloved classic shows on Cartoon Network. Eventually, Mike Lazo, being fed up over reading about how the network was just a Hanna-Barbera rerun station, according to the New York Times, was tasked with creating an original, adult-oriented series at a low cost. His answer was Space Ghost Coast to Coast, a talk show created from repurposed Hanna-Barbera assets. The series was cheap to produce, and it was a huge success. Repurposing Hanna-Barbera assets eventually became a pretty common practice for the network, especially during the early days. Shows like Aqua Teen and The Brak Show, just to name a few, repurposed a lot of these assets, like characters and even backgrounds. Space Ghost Coast to Coast Game Tap episodes. GameTap, a video game service established by Turner Broadcasting System in 2006, took an interesting approach to promote its platform. To attract users, new episodes of Space Ghost Coast to Coast were produced and premiered on the service from its launch until 2008. However, these episodes were only 5 minutes in length, and guests would consist of popular names from the gaming industry. And according to the Lost Media Wiki, these episodes were allegedly made without any involvement of the original writers and were apparently met with mixed reviews. Once the service was purchased by French gaming service Metaboli in 2008, the series was canned again. A majority of the GameTap episodes have been found, however 3 episodes are still considered lost media. Space Ghost BG's interview. For the original interview process of the series, Coast to Coast crew members would dress up in a very awkward fitted Space Ghost costume and would ask the guests nonsensical random questions in a room. Eventually, the interview process transformed into guests being filmed in a room answering these same random questions on a call rather than having an interviewer in the same room. After the interview, the team would create a script around the guests' answers. One of the most infamous interviews of the series, and probably the reason why the interview process eventually shifted, was the Season 1 episode featuring the Bee Gees. Only 20 seconds of the interview was usable simply because the Bee Gees could not stop laughing at the interviewer. The Coast to Coast team would later go on to state that the Bee Gees were the worst guests they've ever had. The Boondocks Fox pilot. While Aaron Magruder, series creator, was working on the Boondocks comic strips for Hitlist.com, he was very interested in creating both an animated series and a syndicated comic strip based on his creation. The comic strip goal was eventually met in 1999 with the Boondocks debuting in the newspaper. Meanwhile, Magruder and a producer by the name of Reginald Hudlin crafted a pilot for the Fox network. However, the Fox deal fell through. Thankfully, however, Mike Lazo stumbled across the pilot, saw the potential of the series, and gave Magruder a shot. The Boondocks would later go on to be one of the greatest shows in Adult Swim history. However, one question still remains. Whatever happened to the Fox pilot? Well, the pilot, as of now, is considered lost media for the most part. Series producer Carl Jones released a roughly 20-second snippet from the pilot onto his Twitter way back in May of 2016. The clip shows a conversation between Huey and Jasmine regarding a fight that Huey was involved with. Riley would then appear on screen to ruin the moment. Some sources claim to have seen the pilot at conventions, but none of these claims have been confirmed. While we're on the topic of the Boondocks, back in 2019, a series reboot was announced with Magruder and John Witherspoon set to return. However, Witherspoon passed away later that same year. The series was set to air on Max in 2020 before being postponed for a few years. Eventually, according to Cedric Yarbrough, the voice of Tom Dubois and Colonel H. Stinkmeaner in the series, confirmed that Sony canceled the new series. The end of Moral Oral. Moral Oral was an American stop-motion animated series created by Dino Stamatopoulos. The show revolved around devout Christian Oral Puppington and his family, who resided in the town of Morrilton within the fabricated United States state of State Soda. While the series spanned 3 seasons, plans were in place for a 4th and 5th season, but unfortunately those plans never came to fruition, and that's because the series was canceled by Adult Swim for being too dark and depressing. The episode titled Alone was deemed the final nail in the coffin for the series. Without going into too much detail, the episode starred characters Nurse Bendy, Miss Sculptum, and Miss Censor Doll, and focused on topics like sexual abuse, assault, and mental illness, just to name a few. When Adult Swim execs heard of this episode, along with another unproduced episode, they canceled the show entirely. Season 3 was originally 20 episodes long, but after the cancellation, that number was cut back to 13. It's a shame that the series was canceled, especially after Dino revealed the future plans for the series, including plots for Seasons 4 and 5. Episode scripts for the unproduced Season 3 episodes are available online to read, as well as an unreleased episode titled Abstinence. Witches Abusing Babies Controversy. Off the Air is an American anthology series showcased on Adult Swim. Created by Dave Hughes, each episode is a blend of surreal videos encompassing various media types and purposes. On November 12, 2018, the legendary Mike Diva released a video titled Pre-Birth on his YouTube channel, which was featured on an episode of Off the Air. Pre-Birth follows 3 human pyramid head figures who create music using monoliths and unborn babies. After completing the song, one baby is placed on a monolith, the structure descends into the ground, and the final scene displays the newborn baby in a hospital. Now, if that's what happens before babies are born, then that explains a lot about me. After this clip went viral, a Twitter user on July 18th, 2020 tweeted, "Cartoon Network after hours. They throw it in your face. They hope you aren't the kind of parent who monitors what your kids watch and do. They're busy conditioning them. What do you see here? I see witches abusing babies. This is not okay. This is not funny." And unfortunately, there were some people siding with this user, their statement, and even questioned why the short was featured on a children's network, as if it wasn't known that Cartoon Network and Adult Swim share the same channel. Adult Swim even lets the viewers know that their network is not suitable for younger audiences right before the block even starts. Anyways, Mike Diva and Adult Swim eventually responded to the controversy on Twitter with the following tweets on screen, poking fun at the people who complained. It's honestly a good thing that the original Twitter user was only exposed to Pre-Birth as far as we know. Honestly, that video alone isn't even the strangest piece of media from the network. I mean, Jesus Christ, wait until they hear about Too Many Cooks, Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, The Heart She Hollers bumpers, or God, Beef House. You guys ever see Beef House? That show is nuts. Kinda sad we're never gonna get a season 2. Anyways, that was Layer 5. Yippee. Woohoo. Ah, God. Cartoon Planet reruns. So Cartoon Planet was an hour-long variety show block, which originally aired on TBS before moving to Cartoon Network. The block lasted from 1995 to 98, starred Space Ghost and his recruited enemies, Zorak and Brak, as they heckled each other, performed original songs, skits, and played various cartoons from Turner Entertainment's library, like theatrical shorts, and even old Hanna-Barbera classics, like the original Space Ghost cartoon from the 60s, with the inclusion of a laugh track. The show also featured some live-action segments from Andy Merrill, the voice of Brack, wearing a super tight Space Ghost costume and performing various tasks like getting a haircut, playing tennis, and more. Now, I wasn't around for the original run of this variety show. In fact, I don't even think I was a thought in my parents' head at the time, which is unfortunate. However, I was lucky enough to see some of the Adult Swim reruns of this block when I was younger. During the summer of 05 and 06, Adult Swim decided to take viewers back in time by airing reruns of the original Cartoon Planet. And in 2012, as part of Cartoon Network's 20th anniversary, Cartoon Planet returned for another short run. C. Martin Croker and Andy Merrill reprised their roles as Brack and Zorak, although Space Ghost did not make an appearance because the producers at the time didn't have enough money in the budget to hire George Lowe to reprise his role. The new Cartoon Planet also made the switch from cell animation and stock footage to Adobe Flash for a modern and cleaner look. The rebooted Cartoon Planet originally began airing older Cartoon Network shows like the Powerpuff Girls and Ed, Edd and Eddy before acquiring third-party content and newer shows. However, the rebooted block eventually ended on February 8th, 2014. Although, as part of Adult Swim's Pete Smith Day Marathon back in 2021, some skits were aired again. A few segments of the original Cartoon Planet were included on the first Brack show DVD, but due to some licensing issues, certain clips of older cartoons shown during the block were replaced with different scenes. Sadly, not all of the footage was released on DVD though. However, a ton of clips from the original and rebooted run of Cartoon Planet are available on YouTube if you would like to check them out. Here are a few channels on screen that house a lot of these clips. Shout out to these channels for uploading the footage. Adult Swim Action. Adult Swim Action was an old anime block that lasted from 2002 to 2012. The block was very similar to Toonami, however, it consisted of shows that were rated for an older audience which couldn't air during the original Toonami weekday afternoon block. Various shows like Bleach, Death Note, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Durarara, Ghost in the Shell, and tons of other shows aired during this block until its cancellation in 2012 when the Toonami block returned and snagged the Saturday night time slot. Nintendo's 2014 digital event with Robot Chicken. In 2014, Nintendo decided to embrace some self-deprecating humor with the assistance of Robot Chicken for their Nintendo Direct. Robot Chicken, including Seth Green and their production team, put together some segments for Nintendo's 2014 E3 presentation, which resulted in what some consider one of the most memorable Nintendo showcases ever. It's still insane to imagine a company like Nintendo working with a series like Robot Chicken. Nonetheless, the presentation was incredible and hilarious. If you're interested, the Robot Chicken Nintendo Direct clips are available on YouTube. Lost Soul Quest Overdrive episodes. Soul Quest Overdrive was a very short-lived animated series about 4 sentient pieces of athletic equipment named Bert, Mortimer, Tammy, and Mick, who are described as evangelical Christians who have a much darker side to them. The series, created by Dave Willis and Matt Malero, is a spin-off of their other series, Aqua Teen Hunger Force. In fact, these pieces of athletic equipment are based off of the Bible fruit seen in the Aqua Teen episode of the same name. The pilot never aired on the network, however, it's available to view online. As for the series, it premiered on May 24th, 2011. Only 4 of the 6 episodes ordered aired on the network, but as of January of 2024, the last 2 episodes have yet to air, with their whereabouts remaining a mystery. Million Dollar Extreme presents World Peace Controversy. Million Dollar Extreme is a sketch comedy group featuring Nick Rockford, Sam Hyde, and formerly Charles Carroll. The group began making sketch comedy videos on YouTube before moving to television with their own Adult Swim show titled Million Dollar Extreme Presents World Peace. The series debuted on August 5th, 2016. However, the show faced a very fast cancellation on December 5th of the same year due to some controversy. It appears as if there was a very strong divide in opinions among Adult Swim workers regarding the series. While some might have been accepting or supportive of the show, others were openly critical and expressed dislike for the content, as well as Sam for his alleged association with the alt-right, according to accusations. The controversy also extended to accusations of coded racist messages and symbols within the show, which Sam Hyde refuted, asserting that such claims were false. Joseph Bernstein, a BuzzFeed news writer, had criticized the series and published an article titled "The Alt-Right Has Its Very Own TV Show on Adult Swim." Brett Gelman, a series creator, also expressed strong concerns about the show, describing it as an instrument of hate. He eventually departed from the network, citing world peace as one of his reasons for exiting. Tim Heidecker, 50% of Tim and Eric, also voiced his concerns regarding the series and publicly supported Gelman's decision to leave. Soon after, tons of media outlets were discussing the series and the controversy surrounding it. It appears that the BuzzFeed article, other outlets, allegations, and internal conflict played a role in Adult Swim's decision to discontinue the show. Musical guests featured on the series have also voiced their disapproval of the show, stating that neither of them were well aware of the political beliefs and views of the group prior to the series. According to Sam, allegedly Adult Swim executives at the time were apparently interested in picking up the series for another season. However, Turner decided to put the series in the grave. Pee-wee's Playhouse. Despite being a show for children, Pee-wee's Playhouse had a very brief stay on Adult Swim, lasting from July 10th, 2006 to January 15th, 2007. I personally remember watching Pee-wee's Playhouse on the network as a kid, but I always assumed that it was a series for adults, at least until I got older. And as a young adult, I now understand that it's a show meant for kids, but can also easily be enjoyed by adults as well. It's also just extremely surreal and very entertaining, which fits the blood and DNA of Adult Swim. Old versus new Adult Swim. It's very hard to comprehend how much Adult Swim has evolved over the last couple of decades. What began as a block on a budget has transformed into one of the biggest adult-centric networks on the planet, housing tons of mainstream successes, like Rick and Morty, Smiling Friends, Aqua Teen, as well as live-action shows and anime. The network really only began with Aqua Teen, Seal Lab 2021, Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, The Brack Show, Space Ghost, Home Movies, and Cowboy Bebop on their roster. Over time, a lot of those old shows and Hanna-Barbera-based projects were phased out for newer shows, like The Venture Bros, Metalocalypse, Robot Chicken, 12-Ounce Mouse, Moral Oral, Saul of the Mole Men, and tons of others, along with the continued expansion of anime on the network. In terms of the network's original shows, especially years ago, the lineup was super diverse, ranging from stop motion to live action, to crudely drawn and horrific, too beautiful to simple low-budget animation. While many will argue that Adult Swim peaked many years ago, the network is truly in the best position that it's ever been in since its launch. The network now has a much larger time slot filled with various shows able to cater to all kinds of fans. If you're a fan of classic Cartoon Network shows, then Checkered Past is for you. If you enjoy the syndicated reruns of King of the Hill, Bob's Burgers, Futurama, and American Dad, then those exist. If you're still looking for the original classics like Aqua Teen, 12-Ounce Mouse, Squidbillies, The Boondocks, and even the extremely surreal shows like Xavier Renegade Angel, those continue to air on the network as well. In fact, The Boondocks and Xavier are scheduled to air on the network sometime this month, depending on when this video comes out. It might have already happened. Meatwad's voice on a 1999 Space Ghost Coast to Coast episode. In the Season 6 episode of Space Ghost Coast to Coast titled Sequel, when Space Ghost is looking for directions on how to get back home, he stops and asks Xandor for help. When Xandor refuses to offer assistance and everyone begins attacking Space Ghost, Dorno, voiced by Dave Willis, joins in by telling him to get lost. However, Dave voiced Dorno using what would later be known as Meatwad's voice.
Get lost, you creep! We saw what you did to Jane and Jace.
Hearing Meatwad's voice in the Coast to Coast episode sequel is just super interesting, especially when knowing that Dave and Matt already had the concept for these characters in their heads. For those of you who don't know, Dave Willis and Matt Malero worked on Coast to Coast and even wrote an episode script in 1999, now known as Baffler Meal, which focused on a group of fast food mascots known as the Aqua Teens. However, the episode was rejected because it focused too much on the Aqua Teens and not enough on Space Ghost. Baffler Meal was eventually turned into the Space Ghost episode Kentucky Nightmare. Once Space Ghost first run ended in late 1999, Dave and Matt got to work on the Aqua Teen series. However, the Baffler Meal episode of Space Ghost was eventually finished and aired years after Aqua Teen's debut. I think what makes this moment hilarious is the fact that a person could literally take the voice of Dorno and play it over an image of Meatwad and it would just work.
Get lost, you creep! We saw what you did to Jane and Jay.
Credit to SwimWiki for providing me with the title of the Coast to Coast episode featuring Meatwad's voice. I have personally never seen this episode of Coast to Coast before, but it was great. I really need to finish the series. I've been like on and off with it for years. Charlie the Unicorn pitch. In 2007, Jason Steele, also known as Film Cow, received a proposal from Adult Swim to potentially adapt his popular web series, Charlie the Unicorn, into a television show. Within 2 days, Jason created a video pitch outlining the series concept, the world it inhabited, and its characters for the network. Although Adult Swim enjoyed the pitch and even extended a contract offer to Jason, he declined it, expressing his lack of enthusiasm for his own pitch and doubting its potential success. Eventually, he released the pitch video online. In a Reddit AMA about 8 years ago, Jason further touched on the pitch, explaining that the Adult Swim producer he was working with believed that the series needed more drug humor in order to appeal to college kids. That was apparently another factor as to why Jason turned down the contract. Jason also pitched the magical realm of Horseman to Adult Swim and Fox's ADHD, but the series was rejected by both networks. A video pitch for that series is unlisted on the Film Cow channel. Honestly, both of these projects would have done incredible had Adult Swim accepted Horseman and didn't require drug humor for Charlie, but I think Jason at least made the right call to deny the Charlie contract, especially if he believed it wouldn't have turned out great. Harold and Kumar animated series. Harold and Kumar was a movie series starring actors John Cho and Kal Penn. From 2004 to 2011, 3 movies were produced, like Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, Escape from Guantanamo Bay, which is my personal favorite of the 3, and A Very Harold and Kumar Christmas. According to the Lost Media Wiki, in 2011, while the 3rd movie was set to release, there were rumors circulating about a potential animated series in the works. It was then reported in 2012 that an untitled Harold and Kumar animated series was in fact in the works, with actors John Cho and Kal Penn set to reprise their roles. The series was apparently going to be animated by Bento Box Entertainment, produced by Lionsgate, and released on Adult Swim. Throughout the next few years, the cast and crew would post images and teasers as well as updates regarding the project. Kal Penn even shared a snippet of the pilot to his Instagram way back in 2015. However, the post was later removed. Unfortunately, the series never saw the light of day, with many speculating that the series was quietly scrapped, which is very disappointing, especially because many of us were looking forward to the series. However, in January of 2023, YouTuber FullCow03 found some footage of the series that was featured in Bento Box's 2016 demo reel, although it's unclear at this time if the footage shown in that demo reel is from the pilot or another episode. The demo reel footage as well as Kal Penn's snippet are apparently the only 2 known animated clips from the series. As at the time of me recording this video, which is January of 2024, the pilot has still not surfaced. If you are interested in checking out either of these clips, they are available on FullCow03's YouTube channel, specifically their video on the Lost Harold and Kumar pilot. And if you have any information regarding this series or the pilot, throw some comments down below or let FullCow03 know, as they are currently on the hunt to find the pilot and figure out exactly why the series was scrapped. Eric Andre demo tape. Back in the summer of 2009, Eric Andre recorded a demo pilot for The Eric Andre Show, featuring himself and a few friends, including Hannibal, in a bodega they rented. Andre then spent the next year learning how to edit and pieced together the footage to create a 7-minute demo. After pitching the demo to many networks, Adult Swim saw it and took their chances. To this day, the full demo pilot has not been officially released. However, at the Adult Swim Festival in November of 2020, an Eric Andre Show Season 5 behind the scenes special premiered, featuring never-before-seen footage from the demo. So I wouldn't say that the Eric Andre demo tape is lost, I just think it hasn't been properly released yet, but I have faith that it will at some point. Burger King's Have It Your Way lineup. From 2005 to 2010, Adult Swim teamed up with Burger King to create the Burger King Have It Your Way lineup. From what I can gather online, once a year, Adult Swim would release a phone number where viewers tuning into the network would be able to call in to enter a contest. One lucky winner would be able to create a custom lineup of shows for the night, along with bumpers. Throughout the history of the partnership, 6 winners were chosen. Christine Lee in 2005, whose bumpers were archived by the channel Swim History, Ed in 2006, an unknown winner in 2007, Sabrina in 2008, David Long Jr. in 2009, and finally, Jonathan, not me, in 2010. I'm very surprised that Adult Swim and Burger King haven't continued the contest or brought it back in some form, because this sounded like such an awesome sweepstakes that really involved fans of the network. Anyways, I'm not entirely positive if the bumpers featuring the other winners were archived anywhere, but please let me know if they are. If not, then we better start digging for them. And yeah, that was layer 6. Whoopee. Woohoo. God, I gotta pee. It's Always Sunny on Adult Swim. According to Twitter user Animated Plus, when FX put the syndication rights to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia up for sale, Adult Swim was set to acquire the series. However, Comedy Central came running in and snatched the series for themselves. The network ended up gaining the syndication rights from 2010 until 2017 when Vice acquired the rights. So I only just got into It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia a few years ago. Yeah, I know, I'm very late to the party. Anyways, it's another one of my favorite shows. In fact, I've been slowly piecing together an iceberg on the series in the background for the last year, but that's besides the point. Honestly, if Comedy Central didn't swoop in for the syndication rights and Adult Swim began airing the series, I, along with so many others, probably would have been introduced to the show way sooner. But I guess it's better late than never, right? Always Sunny is such a popular and hilarious show, but I feel like it would have done incredible had reruns aired on Adult Swim. Lost Rick and Morty Subway commercials. According to the Lost Media Wiki, Justin Roiland was approached by Subway years ago to make 4 commercials featuring Rick and Morty. The commercials focused on Rick and Morty portraying themselves as the new Jared Fogle, which is something nobody should ever do. For those of you who don't know, he was the Subway spokesperson at the time. However, shortly after these commercials were put together and set to premiere, Jared was arrested. The Subway brand ended up cutting ties with him, and since the subject of the commercials was Jared, they were canned. As of now, the only person known to have the commercials is Justin, who apparently isn't allowed to release the commercials. However, he allegedly stated that he threw the commercials onto 8 flash drives and scattered them in random places. Out of the 8, 4 are currently missing, but as of January of 2024, when I'm recording this video, the commercials still have not been found or leaked. 12 Ounce Mouse Lost Original Pilot. 12 Ounce Mouse, created by Matt Malero, was a crudely drawn animated series which ran from 2005 to 2006 before being revived for a special and a 3rd season over a decade later. It's a very entertaining series, by the way. Definitely check it out on Max if you haven't before. Anyways, according to John Brettston, an editor for the series, in an interview with Corndog Central back in 2021, he mentioned there being an early pilot that existed before the official pilot of the series hired. Only a few members of the team knew about the early pilot. Apparently in this early episode, Keith Crawford voiced Golden Joe, and he was supposed to be the boss of Fitz, as opposed to the character being voiced by Vishal Roney in the full series. Brentston then revealed that he unfortunately did not save the early pilot, which means that this early pilot is lost forever, which is tragic. Adult Swim versus Comedy Central. So besides swooping in for the syndication rights to It's Always Sunny, according to Animated Plus, Comedy Central has tried to screw over Adult Swim in so many other ways. Here are just a few notable examples. In 2002, after the successful home movies revival on Adult Swim, Comedy Central decided to release unaired episodes of another soup to nuts series titled Dr. Katz, which was already off the air for a few years prior. Then in 2007, after hearing that Adult Swim's rights to Futurama were going to expire, CC made like the Kool-Aid Man and breached the walls to offer a larger amount for the syndication rights. Adult Swim also attempted to acquire Archer, but Comedy Central swooped in yet again, which didn't benefit Archer fans who tuned into the network to see episodes. Comedy Central decided to air the series during weekday afternoons, and because of this, the series had to be slightly edited for daytime viewers. Whereas if Adult Swim acquired the syndication rights, the series wouldn't have required any editing. And lastly, in 2018, Comedy Central acquired King of the Hill and only aired the series for a year. And the theory is that the network didn't even want the series, but only took it just to spite Adult Swim. And you know what? Here's a bonus one that wasn't listed in Animated Plus's original Twitter thread that I found pretty interesting. Brickleberry was first pitched to Comedy Central, but the network wanted them to pitch another pilot, which the creators of the series refused to do. On the other hand, Adult Swim was ready to order 10 episodes of the series, and once Comedy Central heard about that news, they immediately purchased the show and ordered 10 episodes. Talk about pettiness. Williams Street Hammer origin. At the end of many Adult Swim shows, the William Street logo, accompanied by a distinct sound resembling hammering, plays. Interestingly, this audio was repurposed from another company's production. Mark 7 Limited, founded by actor and filmmaker Jack Webb, operated from 1951 until his passing in 1982. The Mark 7 Limited logo showcased the hands of Webb's construction foreman, Harold C. Nyby, using a stamp and hammer to create the Roman numeral 7 in a sheet of metal accompanied by a timpani roll. Williams Street, formerly Ghost Planet Industries, eventually adopted the iconic audio from the 1967 Mark 7 logo for theirs. Names before Adult Swim. According to a New York Times interview with Michael Wheeling, Mike Lazo, and various other Adult Swim staff, during the development of Adult Swim, multiple names for the block were thrown around, like Insert Quarter, Parental Block, Adult Swim, and Aviso, which means warning in Spanish. Lazo mentioned not being a huge fan of the title Adult Swim and even suggested Cartoon Network After Hours. However, they eventually settled on Adult Swim, which is a common phrase used by public swimming pools. Adult Swim is the designated time when all children are declined access from using the pool in order for adults to have a turn, which is why the first bumpers for Adult Swim featured elderly people swimming in a public pool, followed by an announcer who would shout, "Adult Swim, all kids out of the pool." Saved by the Bell. If you thought that Pee-wee's Playhouse airing on the network was obscure, then you might want to sit down for this one. Many of you should be familiar with the classic American sitcom Saved by the Bell, which originally aired on NBC from 1989 to 1993. However, a lesser-known fact is that the series had a brief stint on Adult Swim, airing for 2 weeks, starting on April 18th, 2006 at 12 a.m. During this time, the network created bumpers to promote the show, but like many at the time, the bumpers were horrifying. As a small child, seeing those freaky Saved by the Bell bumpers in the middle of the night, whether it was because I stayed up late or woke up randomly, gave me chills down my spine. They were just deep fried, like they made me piss my pants, and it got to a point where sometime during those 2 weeks, I switched the channel over to Nick at Night, despite the fact that the George Lopez show opening theme also scared me. But when comparing those two pieces of media, George Lopez was slightly more tolerable. Although as I look back on the bumpers, even rewatching them just recently for this video, made me realize that they're not really scary. Yeah, slightly disturbing, but mostly really funny. Anyways, airing only 8 out of its 99 episodes on Adult Swim, the stunt aimed to mock live-action programming on the network. For this occasion, Adult Swim even temporarily renamed itself to the crappy 1980s live-action TV show network. The selected episodes that aired during this event included The Gift, The Friendship Business, House Party, Jesse's Song, Fake IDs, Rockumentary, Drinking and Driving, and Snow White and the Seven Dorks. Being the first live-action series on the network, Saved by the Bell received notably negative reactions from audiences as evidenced by the Adult Swim message boards at the time. To add to the situation, a fake press release appeared on the Adult Swim website falsely announcing the revival of the show under the direction of Matt Laster, the vice president of Turner Entertainment's newly created 80s reclamation department. The statement claimed an overwhelming fan response on AdultSwim.com's website, suggesting a reboot with Screech as Bayside's principal seeking help from his friends to handle the current students. However, it was all part of the joke. James Anderson, the vice president of public relations for Adult Swim at the time, clarified that there were no real plans to revive Saved by the Bell. Additionally, it was revealed that Matt Laster, while once a real employee of Adult Swim, did not hold the title of vice president or anything. In September of 2019, Merle Hagen tweeted about how he was briefly in charge of the Adult Swim website at the time and revealed that he was the one who published the fake press release onto the website, pretending to be Matt Laster and the VP. Thankfully, Merle received only a slap on the wrist by Mike Lazo and Adult Swim for this stunt, as a lot of people at the network found the joke to be hilarious. Despite this being one of the craziest and most hilarious stunts in Adult Swim history, those 2 weeks of Saved by the Bell were very weird. The Adult Swim ARG. So when I first discussed the Adult Swim ARG in my original Iceberg video, I referred to it as ARG. I didn't think it was a huge deal. In fact, I thought it was kind of funny because I sounded like a pirate saying ARG. But I quickly noticed that a small portion of you were fuming in the comments, which was pretty hilarious to see. So I think for this entry, instead of calling it an ARG, I'm just gonna call it an ARG because I'm a pirate. And I enjoy seeing how mad people get over little things. In August of 2017, a mysterious bumper aired on Adult Swim, known as Delilah, or Designated Emergency Logics Intelligence Level ARC Habitat. Delilah, unsure of her origin, reached out to viewers for help, providing a Twitter handle @Lilhead in brackets. This sparked the beginning of the ARG, or an alternate reality game, or ARG. Okay, I'm done, I promise. Somebody is going to get mad at that. The Adult Swim ARG progressed for a few years, introducing new transmissions via bumpers, different Twitter accounts, and experienced a few resurgences before fading away. A video titled The Lost Adult Swim ARG by Red Herring delves into the specifics of the story, the ARG's life cycle, and the challenges it faced. If you're interested in learning more about the ARG, then check it out. Also, feel free to check out the Game Detectives page about the ARG, as it goes into a ton of detail about the story. Also, okay, alright. The Awkward Comic-Con Panel. In 2006, Adult Swim put together a crazy Comic-Con panel that brought together Doc Hammer and Jackson Public from The Venture Bros, Seth Green and Matthew Sunreich from Robot Chicken, Brendan Small and Tommy Blacha from Metalocalypse, and Dino Stamatopoulos and Scott Adsit from Moral Oral. Also, world-famous Capitol insurrectionist Jay Johnston, who worked on Moral Oral, was also featured at this panel too, which is a very obscure piece of information, by the way. The Comic-Con panel from 2006, which was later dubbed the Awkward Comic-Con panel, had its fair share of dysfunctional moments. The panel started off normal, but took a pretty dramatic turn roughly around the 15-minute mark. Dino in particular began making some pretty eccentric and at times very insane and wild remarks. However, it became pretty apparent that Dino was very drunk thanks to some vodka. He was also displeased not only with the event's overall dynamic and the lack of questions thrown his way, but also with Jackson and Doc. He even threw shade their way, questioning their comedic abilities and poking fun at their dyed hair. The panel was extremely cringy and uncomfortable to watch. In fact, it's very easy to get secondhand embarrassment from indulging in this panel. One memorable incident occurred when a fan jokingly teased the Moral Oral crew because Dino was upset. Dino then grabbed the microphones from everyone on stage and screamed, "Shut up." Chairs were also thrown, Dino kept insulting everyone, and overall the panel was just a mess. There was also a moment where Doc made a negative comment about Adult Swim's inclusion of anime on the network, which Seth Green interpreted as a dig against Robot Chicken. But it wasn't. Seth just misunderstood the statement. Anyways, this panel was a giant disaster, and in order to capitalize on the mess, the Moral Oral team decided to release this panel as an extra for the Moral Oral Season 1 DVD, along with commentary from Dino explaining his perspective. Doc and Jackson also released a commentary about this panel as well. If you would like to check out both commentaries, they are available on archive.org, and the full panel can be viewed on the YouTube channel Lost Extras as well. Yippee-ki-yay, that was layer 7 of the iceberg. Whoopee, woohoo. Alright. The Simpsons movie Aqua Teen Hunger Force bumper. Sometime between Friday, July 20th, 07 and Wednesday, July 25th of the same year, Adult Swim aired a promo for the then upcoming Simpsons movie with a twist. Instead of this being a regular Simpsons movie promo, it featured Aqua Teen Hunger Force characters redesigned as Simpsons characters. Like for example, Carl was Homer, Meatwad was Marge, Frylock was Lisa, Shake was Bart, and more. If you want to see the full uninterrupted promo, then check out Terflamic Gaming 420's repost on YouTube. At the end of this advertisement, viewers were told to watch Adult Swim on Thursday night, the 26th, to see a sneak peek of sorts. However, nobody to my knowledge has any footage from that night. I've seen many comments from people online claiming that there wasn't like a sneak peek of the movie or anything, but just a showing of the official Simpsons movie trailer. I've also seen comments from people swearing on their mother's lives that they saw a clip from the Simpsons movie, but don't remember which clip was shown. But I've mostly seen people confirm that they had no idea about this trailer, its existence, or anything. I might have also stumbled upon a comment or two from viewers claiming that a clip from the film was shown, but with redesigned Aqua Teen characters. But if you want my honest opinion, I think this was just a one-off promo for the Simpsons movie, and maybe the sneak peek was just a normal trailer for the film. But as I stated in my Aqua Teen Iceberg, I leave it up to you guys. I'm pretty sure that this sneak peek is considered lost media, so if you guys have any information or even a recording from the night of the sneak peek, please let me know in the comments below. The Venture Bros Season 8 rumor. During New York Comic-Con 2023 at the Titmouse Inc. panel, it was reported that Adult Swim had a keen interest in producing more episodes of Venture Bros. However, they were awaiting the direction that Doc and Jackson, the creators of the series, wanted to take. Now, Doc and Jackson have shown over the years how enthusiastic they are about continuing the franchise, and spoiler alert, it felt like the creators left the latest film open-ended with the goal of one day returning to make more installments. Various outlets, including Swimpedia, started sharing the story around. This led to a massive reaction on Twitter, with many fans, including myself, expressing surprise and also concern. But in the morning following the story's emergence, Jackson Public responded on Twitter by addressing the rumor, stating, "If any part of this were true, we'd be actively working on the Venture Bros right now and would likely have made an announcement at New York Comic-Con." And as far as I know, there is no video evidence confirming that Titmouse Inc. made such statements at their panel, and I wasn't at this panel, so I can't really confirm or deny what was said either. However, users who were present at this event strongly maintain that the Titmouse panel conveyed this information. So there definitely seems to be some discrepancy between Titmouse Inc., Jackson Public statement, and the information shared by attendees. So all I could say to you guys is to continue supporting the series, stream the brand new movie, keep voicing to Adult Swim that you want the series to return, and always take rumors like this with a grain of salt. Naruto Sandbox Incident. On March 11th, 2008, a 10-year-old boy from Washington State sustained injuries during a weekend play date when he and his friends buried his head in a sandbox. The other children, thinking he was joking, didn't understand the seriousness when he began to struggle. They weren't aware he was suffocating until it was too late. Despite immediate CPR attempts by adults and emergency responders' efforts, the child tragically passed away 2 days later at a children's hospital. According to an article from ABC News, the children were very inspired by Naruto when they attempted this dangerous idea. Now, while this unfortunate story does not mention Adult Swim or Cartoon Network in particular, the series was airing on the network at the time of this incident, so I'm inclined to believe that these kids regularly watched the series on the network. I'm speculating, but it also sounds like the kids might have drawn inspiration from a particular character known as Gaara of the Desert, but I could totally be wrong. It's really upsetting that what began as an innocent playdate ended so horribly. Following the incident, the police interviewed the other children and the case was deemed a tragic accident. No one faced charges or repercussions, and Naruto continued to be broadcasted on television. It's a terrible story, and one can only hope that such a terrible situation never occurs again. C. Martin Croker's Forbidden File. So I've discussed this entry maybe 3 or 4 times at this point in various icebergs that I've done in the past, so I won't spend too much time on this. However, there is an update to some information regarding this story that I want to discuss towards the end. Clay Martin Croker was an animator and voice actor known for portraying characters like Dr. Weird and Steve on Aqua Teen, Moltar as well, and also Zorak on Coast to Coast and The Brak Show. He was an incredibly talented person, but sadly he passed away back in 2016 at the age of 54. According to the Lost Media Wiki, there is a rumor floating around that Croker left behind a stash of sketches, artwork, drawings, various memorabilia, and more. It's also rumored that he kept all of his artwork, making it plausible that some of his more not safe for work content is somewheres. That's code for naughty sketches, baby. To this day, as far as I know, the rumored artwork has still not resurfaced. Apparently, his not safe for work artwork is located inside of a forbidden folder. The contents of the folder are unknown, but several of Croker's friends, colleagues, and peers like Robert W. Pope and Robert Minsk have mentioned its existence. One of the alleged sketches in this folder, according to a mutual friend of Croker's, is believed to be Tom and Jerry related. Now, I just want to let you all know that this forbidden file is not technically lost media, but more so unconfirmed or just a rumor. The file might or might not exist, but nobody knows as of now. Also, in my original Adult Swim Iceberg and potentially my Aqua Teen Icebergs, I mentioned that Croker passed away from food poisoning. That statement is incorrect, at least it seems like it. Since those videos were posted, the information on both Croker's wiki and the Lost Media wiki page have been updated, completely removing the mention of him passing from food poisoning. The wiki page was updated in September of 2023, and the Lost Media wiki page was updated back in May of 2023. So I'm not entirely sure where this idea even stemmed from, but I just wanted to update you all and let you know. Croker, to our knowledge, did not pass away from food poisoning. We don't know how he passed, and it's probably none of our business to know. Build your own DVD. I'm sure a lot of you guys knew about this feature that was once available on the old Adult Swim shop website, but I'm putting this entry towards the bottom because I honestly did not learn about this until recently, which is crazy. SwimWiki recently mentioned this to me, and it just sounded like one of the most obscure features ever. Apparently there was a feature back on the Adult Swim shop website, which allowed customers to essentially create their own custom DVDs, cases, and even the menu. Basically, for 20 Freedom Dollars, users could choose from select episodes of various Adult Swim shows and load them them onto a DVD for a total runtime of 110 minutes. Customers could also pick between case cover designs, disc designs, and menu designs. Users could even create custom titles and descriptions for their DVD too. This sounded like such an awesome feature, as it basically gave consumers the creative freedom to customize a DVD based on their own preferences, like favorite Adult Swim shows, one particular show, or maybe shows that never received a physical release. The only downside of this feature was that the special features and behind the scenes for shows were not included. Nonetheless, this custom DVD builder sounded like such an incredible feature. Too bad physical media is dying and the Adult Swim shop is long gone, because god damn, I would have created so many DVDs. Rumored lost Aqua Teen bumper. There are lots of regular gags featured throughout Aqua Teen, but the most notable is the exploding gag. Whenever a character throws an object onto the ground, like a television or a remote, it magically explodes. Despite basically having zero continuity, people have speculated that the explosion gag stemmed from the Aqua Teen episode Superhero because a shake in the house's exposure to radiation or toxic waste. There's also another rumor which states that the animators allegedly blew up objects on purpose just to avoid keeping them in the same frame. Eventually, the characters in the series did acknowledge the explosion gag in the Aquadonk episode, The Dumbest Doll of All, but they never really gave an official answer as to why objects explode whenever they hit the ground. I first mentioned the explosion gag during my first Aqua Teen Iceberg. Eventually, I received a comment on that video explaining that there was allegedly an old bumper that played sometime between seasons 3 and 5, which states that the reason behind objects exploding in Aqua Teen is because they were cloned by Frylock, making them unstable. And as soon as I read that comment, I immediately assumed that they were confusing the episode The Cloning with a bumper. But as it turns out, this commenter wasn't the only person to mention this alleged bumper, so I did some investigating earlier last year. At one point, I even contacted Aqua Teen expert Ronnie of the Dancing is Forbidden podcast to see if he had any info regarding this alleged bumper, and he ended up pointing me towards SwimWiki, who I've mentioned throughout this video. SwimWiki is a guy on a mission to document as much Adult Swim history as possible, and I knew he was the person that would have info. So I reached out to SwimWiki, and they informed me of a YouTuber named Rebel Taxi, who uploaded a video titled, "Did You Know Aqua Teen Hunger Force?" And in that video, Rebel Taxi stated that he saw the alleged Aqua Teen explosion gag bumper a very long time ago. It seems like there are a few scattered mentions and comments about this bumper, including Rebel's statement, but none of these instances provide concrete confirmation that it did exist. However, the fact that a few people claim to have seen it suggests that it did exist. So that's where I leave it up to you guys. If anyone watching has further details about the rumored lost Aqua Teen explosion gag bumper, or maybe you have some old VHS or DVR recordings that might contain the alleged bumper, please feel free to share in the comments. Maybe with our combined efforts, we can solve the mystery behind this alleged lost bumper. I personally really want to know if this bumper existed or not. It's been driving me crazy for like over a year now. The real Adult Swim was the friends we made along the way. Get the hell out of here. And that was the final layer of the iceberg. Now I'm gonna go take a siesta. Thank you all so much for tuning into this updated Adult Swim Iceberg video. I had a ton of fun putting this together, and it was so rejuvenating to revisit one of my most popular videos and not only update some information from previous entries, but to also discuss loads of other topics that I totally overlooked when creating the first video. If you guys enjoyed hearing my little annoying voice talk for over an hour, or you learned something new, or you're just having a great day, leave a like on the video. Let's see if we can get this video to at least 100 likes. That would be awesome. Feel free to subscribe to the channel too if you're new here as well, especially if you love all things Adult Swim, Cartoon Network, and gaming related content. Click the bell icon to be notified whenever I upload a brand new video, follow me on all of my social links, and join my Discord server. The links are in the bio below. Have a marvelous day everyone, but please remember to flush twice.